Hello viewers, welcome to today's lecture on microprocessor based system design. In the last 19 lectures, we have discussed in bits and pieces various issues and aspects of microprocessor based system design. We have covered lot of ground, many topics we have covered such as architecture and organization of microprocessors, instruction set, assembly language programming, interfacing of memory devices, data transfer techniques, I/O ports, interfacing of keyboard, interfacing of display devices, interrupt and DMA controllers, serial mode of data transfer, programmable timer counters. All these topics we have covered. You are now equipped with necessary knowledge and information to build complete system. So, in this lecture we shall see how we can put together different subsystems like RAM, ROM, display devices, keyboard and different kinds of I/O devices through special purpose and general purpose I/O ports to the microprocessor and build a complete system. We shall discuss about that in detail. Whenever you design a complete system, you have to follow a number of steps so that in a systematic manner you can build the system. The first point that you have to consider is the project statement or problem specification. In a simple but unambiguous language, the problem has to be stated, and usually that specification, it can be either called project statement or problem specification. It is given in pure and simple English, but it has to be unambiguous so that the design is not faulty. There is no problem in designing the system. Then you have to analyze the project, that is called project analysis, and after the analysis is done, you will do the system design. System design will involve hardware design and software design. These two, hardware and software design, these two are highly interrelated. One is dependent on the other and both are necessary to build a system. Just like the body and soul makes a human system, similarly in a microprocessor based system you will require hardware as well as software to build a complete system. And you will find that there is a trade off between the hardware and software design. You will find that some of the subsystems can be implemented either by hardware or by software. To reduce the cost of the system, the hardware should be simple, should not require large number of chips. So, lower the number of devices, the cheaper is the system. On the other hand, if you have more software complexity, then the design overhead or the programmer's overhead is more. So, there is a trade off. You have to find out how much you will implement by hardware, how much you will implement by software, and that is why it is called hardware and hardware software co-design. You have to arrive at some trade off and find out which subsystems you will implement by hardware and which subsystems you will implement by software. Then you will build a prototype system, and that prototype system has to be tested. The testing has to be done with the help of some development tools and techniques. Development tools and techniques. And also you have to give attention to documentation, as I mentioned earlier, and documentation obviously has to be done starting from the project analysis phase up to testing. So, let us start with a simple example which is representative of a embedded system. It is simple but quite useful system. The project statement is design and development of a temperature monitoring and control system, and problem specification is design a 8085 microprocessor based system to monitor and control the temperature of a water bath by controlling a heater on off. So you'll use a heater to control the temperature. You will make it on or off. The temperature range is from 20 degree centigrade to 100 degree centigrade, and you have to keep provision to set desired temperature by micro switches and display temperature using light emitting diodes, LED displays. So this is your specification of the problem, and based on this specification let us start our design, system design. Whenever you design a system, you have to start with the peripherals or input output device side, and then gradually come to the microprocessor and the RAM, ROM requirement and the software. So first thing that comes in is the input device, that is your 8-bit micro switches, with the help of which the temperature of the water bath has to be set. We have already discussed what a micro switch is and how it can be interfaced through an I/O port to the microprocessor. So this will be interfaced to the microprocessor through one 8-bit I/O port. This is one 8-bit I/O port. Then the next subsystem that will require is the display. You have to display the temperature of the water bath, and to display the temperature, as I have told, you have to use two 7-segment displays, and two 7-segment LED displays are to be used. And these two 7-segment LED displays, since the number of digits is 2, you can interface it in many ways, but to reduce the requirement of port lines, it is better to use some display driver. So we shall use some display drivers to reduce the number of port chips, and that will drive the LEDs. So, and obviously this will also come from the microprocessor. That means it has to be interfaced to the system bus of the microprocessor, and this will be input to the microprocessor. And then these are for inputting the temperature, and this is for displaying the temperature. Now you have to see how you will control the temperature of the water bath. Let's assume this is your water bath, and you have to use a heater to control the temperature of this water bath. And this heater has to be connected to the main supply, and the simplest way of doing it is to use a relay. This is a relay, and it can be controlled by a coil, and you know it's a electromechanical device. Whenever current passes through this electromagnet, this switch is closed or made off. So this relay can be controlled with the help of some driver. So you have to use some driver circuit to make this relay on and off. So that will require relay driver. So you will use relay driver to make this relay on and off. And relay driver can be this relay driver circuit can be controlled by a single input coming from the port line. So you will require one port line to control the relay on and off. Just one port line is sufficient. Now next comes the transducer that will use to monitor the temperature of this water bath, and you will have a number of choices. But in this particular range, where the range is 20 degree centigrade to 100 degree centigrade, you can use a number of devices, but the best choice will be to use either IC temperature sensor or thermistor. Thermistor can be used for this purpose. And out of these two, we have selected thermistor because of its low cost, small size and ready availability. So thermistor will be kept here. Thermistor is nothing but a resistor. it is a resistor, but this resistor is the temporary resistance of this device changes with temperature, and the characteristics we shall see later, and this has to go to a to one device where it will perform the signal conditioning. So you will use one signal conditioner to convert this temperature to some electrical signal which can be applied to one AD converter, analog to digital converter. Now this analog to digital conversion can be done in several ways. You have two choices. You can use one analog to digital converter. That analog to digital converters which are available in the market is little costly. On the other hand, if you use one digital to analog converter and implement the analog to digital conversion algorithm by software, then the cost of the system will be low, because digital to analog converters are cheaper, readily available, and so since the software is not very complex for analog to digital conversion, you can use one digital to analog converter to reduce the cost of the system. However, the software complexity will be little more. So if we accept that, then we can use one digital to analog converter. So we shall use one D2A converter, digital to analog converter, to implement the AD conversion, analog to digital conversion. Here also you will require one IO port, and that will drive the DA converter, and this output of the DA converter and output of the signal conditioner will go to a comparator to perform analog to digital conversion. So this port will come here, and this will go to another port line. So you will require a single port line here, single port line here, and 3 8-bit ports, and this will go to the system bus. Let me draw the system bus. This is the system bus of the microprocessor, to which all these port lines are connected. These devices are connected, display driver. Of course, here also you will use one IO port. It will not go directly. You will require one IO port here. So this IO port, one 8-bit IO port, another 8-bit IO port, another 8-bit IO port. So 3 8-bit IO ports and 2 single port lines. So altogether you require 24 plus 2, 26 port lines. How do you get it? The best way to obtain it without much of overhead, means with minimum number of chips, is to use one 8255, which will provide these 3 8-bit ports. This is 8-bit port, this is another 8-bit port, and this is also 8-bit port. So 8 plus 8 plus these 3 ports can be implemented by one 8255. Now these 2 port lines can be realized by using another device, another IO port device, but since the requirement is only 2 and one is input, another is output, we can make use of the SOD and SID line for this purpose. So by making use of the SID and SOD line, there is no need for another chip. So you can save the save on the chip cost whenever you use the SID and SOD lines. So we can use the SID and SOD lines, and now you will require 8085 microprocessor, and obviously you will require some PROM, programmable ROM, to hold the program. So that has to be interfaced to the microprocessor through the system bus, and your program to implement the functionality of this temperature monitoring control system will be stored in this PROM. Now the question is, in this particular system, do you require RAM, random access memory? Why do you require a RAM? Whenever you use the RAM to store a user program, but in this particular applications, it is an embedded application. The program is ROM based. Moreover, RAM is required whenever you use subroutine. If you don't use subroutine, then those addresses need not be saved in the stack. Stack is, as you know, stack is implemented with the help of RAM. So if you don't use subroutine, then RAM is not required. So we can get rid of the use of RAM if we don't use subroutine. So to reduce the cost of the system, let us decide that we shall not use any subroutine in this particular application. So this is the overall system design, and let us see the hardware design based on this design we arrive at. And this is the detailed circuit diagram shown here. So here is that 8-bit micro switches, deep switches, dual inline package switches which are available, and interface to port C of one 8255 chip, 8255A programmable peripheral interface device. The display devices are interfaced through two display drivers, as I told, so that these two digits can be driven by a single 8-bit port. And then here is that digital to analog converter 1408, that is also interfaced to one 8-bit port, and the heater is shown here, and as you can see, this is the relay which is controlled by this relay driver. This is that relay driver circuit which is implemented by using two transistors and few resistors. Because relay requires high voltage and high current, the voltage requirement is 12 volt and the current requirement is about 100 milliampere or so, which cannot be driven by SOD line. So we have used two transistors to drive the relay, and this is the circuit for that. So this is the relay driver, this is the relay, and here is the heater. Now this is the thermistor is shown here. One end of the thermistor is grounded and the other end is connected to a constant current source. So whenever constant current source is allowed to pass through the thermistor, voltage is developed across it. That voltage is applied to one input of the comparator, and other input of the comparator is coming from the output of the digital to analog converter. So you will see this line is going to the SID input. So you, by making use of this SID input and the output that is coming to the DA converter, you can implement the analog to digital conversion algorithm. So analog to digital conversion algorithm can be implemented by using the DA converter and the output of the comparator, and the digital voltage corresponding to this analog input will be available inside the microprocessor after the analog to digital conversion is done. Let us now focus on the ROM part. Here is the microprocessor. As you know, you require one latch to demultiplex the bus. So this is the latch. With the help of this address latch enable signal, it demultiplexes the bus, and you get here A0 to A16, A0 to A15, the address bus which is connected to EPROM 2716, and this side is that data bus which is going to the programmable IO port chip, which is also going to the PROM. Now apart from this side, you have to use some crystal so that the clock is generated inside the microprocessor. So here you have used 6.144 megahertz crystal, so that the clock frequency is half of that, that means 3.072 megahertz is the clock frequency of this microprocessor, that is the clock frequency. And here a simple circuit by using resistor and capacitor is used to the which is connected to the reset input, and as you turn the power on, this capacitor will gradually charge, and after some time that reset will be activated. So the this particular circuit is performing the auto reset, and you can also ground it to reset this input whenever necessary. So there is a switch as well. So power on reset is there as well as switch is there. And this is the hardware block diagram. We have to now consider the selection of this PROM and the IO port chip. So you have got only two devices connected to the system bus, as you can see, and the selection can be very easily done with the help of only the IOM line and the read line. This ROM is selected whenever this read line is active, that means read line is 0 and this is 1, and IOM line is also the 0 and this is 1. So by making use of one 7400 NAND gate, this device decoder circuit is implemented. So whenever read and IOM both of them are low, then this chip is selected, ROM is selected and read, and whenever IOM is high, then this programmable IO chip is selected. So this maps the IO port device on the IO address space and also maps this ROM to the memory address space, to separate address spaces. However, apart from these lines, you will require A0 line for reading the different registers in the 8255 programmable IO port chip. So that completes the detailed circuit diagram of the microprocessor. Now we have to focus on the software design. Let's see how it is being done. First of all, here we start the process. The starting is done either by resetting the switch or by, at the time of power on, auto power on reset. The first operation that you have to do is to configure the IO ports of 8255. So in this particular case, what we are doing, we are configuring all the three ports in mode 0, and port C as input, port B as output, and port A as output. So this initialization has to be done in the beginning. So this configuration or initialization is done by these two simple instructions. So here these two instructions does the initialization. Initialization means you are configuring the 8255 ports in proper direction and in suitable mode. In this particular case, it is programmed in mode 0, and as I have told, some of them are in input as input port, the port C as input port, and port B and port A as output port. And after that, what you have to do, you have to perform the analog to digital conversion. Analog to digital conversion can be done in a number of ways. Whenever the digital to analog converter chip is used, it can be counter type, it can be successive approximation type. Later on we shall discuss in detail about the analog to digital conversion algorithms. For the time being, here let me briefly explain how it is being done here. Here we have used successive approximation algorithm where which is essentially based on the binary search. First, the most significant bit of the of this port is made high, and a corresponding analog voltage is generated here. This is compared with the voltage, analog voltage, which is generated by this out at the output of this thermistor. If this voltage is less and this is more, then output is 0. Then the next bit is made high, and it checked whether this input is higher than that. So in this way, just like I mean the binary search we do, by generating 8 bits one after the other and retaining some of the bits to 0 to 1, or resetting the bits 0 if the output of the comparator is more. That means we shall make the output, whenever the output of the comparator is high, that means this input is more than this, then that bit is will be resetted. On the other hand, other bits will be retained 1. In this way, as you go from the most significant to the least significant bit in 8 steps, the corresponding port value that which makes it these two outputs more or less same, then we say that that value is the corresponds to the analog input. That's how the conversion is done. And this successive approximation algorithm is implemented by this part of the program. So from here to here, this part. See continued, then repeat here, up from here to here. So we do the successive approximation algorithm. Approximation algorithm is implemented. And after the successive approximation algorithm is obtained, we get a digital value corresponding to this analog voltage generated at the output of this sensor by passing constant current. This is the constant current generator which is allowed to pass through the thermistor, and the voltage generated here is same as this one. That value, digital value, is available here in port A. So, and from that value is now available, and that value has to be used for getting the temperature. How do you do that? For that purpose, we have used a interesting technique. Here you see we have plotted a diagram which shows this is the output of the analog to digital converter, although here I have represented in BCD, not in binary, but you will get the data from the ADC in binary. And here is the temperature. That means the constant current source that you are passing through the thermistor is generating a voltage. Here it is, say, plus 10 volt, not 10 volt, here you are applying, say, 12 volt. 12 volt is being applied here, and this voltage here by passing through this diode, that voltage is plotted here, and the temperature characteristic of the thermistor, the characteristic curve of the thermistor is shown here. As you can see, it is not linear. Since it is not linear, just by simple programming you cannot get the temperature of the water bath, and so you have to use some other technique. How you can do that? We have used a simple table lookup technique. Table lookup. How the table lookup is done? Suppose this is the digital value 90. 90 corresponds to 5A in hex. 5A in hex is the digital value, and for this for this digital value corresponding temperature is 50 degree centigrade. So what we do, we use a table so that and store this value 50 and other values in the memory, and we append the most significant byte, and the least significant byte is the digital value, and in this location we stored the temperature in degree centigrade. So this technique has been used in this software program. So as you can see here, we are loading the H register by 02, and L register we are loading by the value of C, which is holding the digital data corresponding to the analog voltage that is loaded into the L register. Then you are reading the data which is stored in memory location 0 to 5A. That means, and that is the temperature you are getting in degree centigrade. That means we have stored a table starting from the location 0 to 00 to 0 to FF, and the temperatures in centigrade are stored here. That means once you get the digital value, that digital value you append with 02 to get the address where this temperature is stored. So this technique we use here. As a result, you don't have to really search the value of the temperature from the table. You can straight away get the data, that is the temperature, directly from this table. So this part of the program gets the temperature. Here you gets the temperature. So here you get temperature, and then after you get the temperature, this is displayed, and to display it you have to output it to the digital data to port B, and port B address is 0A. So the address of this is 003, sorry 02, port the address of this is 01, and address of this is 00, and that is what is being done here. Here the display is the digital data is transferred to the display, and you get a display here. So this displays the temperature. So displays the temperature in this part of the program. After that, you read the desired temperature. Since this is connected to port A, you can see here it is connected to port C. Port C address is 02. So you are reading the temperature that the user wants to get. So after getting the desired temperature, so here get the desired temperature, and after the desired temperature is obtained, it is compared with the measured temperature. Now the measured temperature is known, we are doing the comparison, and that is being stored in that memory location M, that means 0 to something, and that is being compared here, and the outcome of the comparison is used either to make the relay on and off. And you can see here, if the relay is turned on here by using the sim instruction, relay turns on, relay is turned on when the temperature is less than the measured temperature. If it is less than the measured temperature, relay is turned on, and whenever it is same or equal, then you make the relay off, then you are going to off, jumped. So you are going to off whenever the temperature is either less than or equal to. So this is, in this case, your relay is turned off. When it is more, then you are turning the relay off. Sorry, here you are turning the relay off. So this makes the relay off, and here it makes the relay on. And after making the relay on and off, you should wait for some time, because the temperature of the water bath do not rise very quickly. So you wait for some time, then again you go back to the original program. So to do that, here a delay has been generated. This is the delay loop, and which has been implemented with the help of two resistors D and E, and using two nested loops. We have already explained how delay generation is performed. Here this is the first nested loop, this one, and this is the second nested loop. So L1 and L2, the delay generation is done, and after that it goes back to the original program. So here you see it goes back to the original program, and looping is performed in this manner. So the looping is done in this way. We can show it side by side to get the complete picture. So after configuration of the ports, it does the analog to digital conversion. After analog to digital conversion, temperature is obtained by table lookup. Then the temperature is displayed. After that, it goes to read the desired temperature. It compares with the measured temperature which has been obtained here. Then based on that, the relay is turned on or off. A delay is generated, and after that it goes back to this position. So in this way it keeps on looping. It keeps on looking continuously, and it does not stop. So continuously the reading of the temperature is done. Result is displayed on the LEDs. This is how it goes on. So we have discussed the software design, and we have, and both the hardware and software design. So you can see here the number of chips is very limited. You have the microprocessor 8085, one chip, one programmable IO port chip, one device decoder circuit, latch, PROM, and the display drivers, AD converter, and a comparator chip. So these are the ICs you require to build the complete system, and we have tried to implement it with minimum number of ICs so that the cost of the system is low. And we have, as I have discussed, by using hardware software co-design, we have reduced the cost of hardware because we have not used analog to digital converter. However, we have implemented the analog to digital conversion by software. That overhead, as you have seen, is little more, but not really very big. So this part of the program could have been just 2 lines if analog to digital converter was used. So this example tells you how you can implement one complete system, particularly for embedded system application. Let us now consider another project where we try to design a general purpose microcomputer. So the project statement for project 2 is design a single board microcomputer, and the specification is given here. You will require a CPU which is implemented by using 8085 microprocessor operating at clock frequency 3.072, and nowadays whenever you state the microprocessor, you should always state the clock frequency. You will see even when you buy a PC, the processor that is being used is stated along with the clock frequency, because the clock frequency is gradually increasing. And in this particular case we have suggested 3.072. The memory requirement of the system is 8 kilobyte EPROM from and 8 kilobyte RAM, and which has to be implemented by using 2764 and 6264. This is RAM and this is electrically programmable ROM, and the access time is 450 nanosecond. And the input device that is being used in this single board microcomputer is 20 key keyboard. 20 key keyboard we have already explained in detail earlier when the keyboard interfacing was discussed. That kind of keyboard has to be implemented, but it will be on the board itself. There no separate module will be there, and output is displayed with the help of 6-digit 7-segment LED displays. So 6-digit 7-segment LED. LED is not given here, so LED display. And this interfacing of the keyboard and LED display is can be done by using the IO port 8279. So 8279 is suggested as the suggested IO for interfacing input and output. Here you see you could have used 8255. If 8255 is used for interfacing the microprocessor, interfacing the keyboard and display, then the burden of on the microprocessor is more, because you have to execute more instructions to get the display to read the keyboard data. But whenever the 8279 is used, then that burden on the microprocessor or on the programmer is less. That is why 8279 is suggested. And the system should allow a user to enter and execute program. LEDs should display address and data or result. Let us see how we perform the system design. So in this case again we start with the peripheral side, that is the common practice. So first thing that you have to do, you have to interface the keyboard. So 20 key keyboard can be implemented in the form of 4x5 matrix. We have seen Whenever it is organized in this way, the number of port line requirement is less. That means it has got 5 rows and 4 columns, and you can use, we have to use 6 digit LED displays, 7 segment LED displays for interface, for display purpose. These two, as I have told, are to be interfaced through 8279. 8279 is used to interface these two devices, and we have already discussed how this kind of interfacing can be done. The detailed circuit diagram for interfacing keyboard and display, here we have given an example of 8 by 8 keyboard, and the display is 16 7 segment displays. So this is the maximum size of keyboard and maximum size of display that you can interface through this 8279. However, there is no restriction on the size on, I mean, if you use smaller size keyboard, in this particular case it is 4 by 5. That means there will be 5 rows, so and the 5 rows and 4 columns. And here we are using 6 digit display instead of possible 16 digit. So the requirement of decoder will be less here. We can build our system by using a single decoder of 3 to 8, because number of rows is not exceeding 8, number of digits of display is also not exceeding 8. So you can save this particular decoder chip, and we can use only one decoder, and the output of this 3 to 8 decoder will directly go to the keyboard as well as to the LED display. So this can be done in this way. LED display we have detailed also we have given. That means these lines will come from those A0 to A3 and B0 to B3. So here say A0, A1, A2, A3 and B0, B1, B2 and B3 are to be connected, and these lines will come from the decoder. That means here it will be S0, S1, low active, S2, S3, S4 and S5. So you have got 6 digits, so 6 outputs are sufficient, and that's why 3 to 8 decoder is necessary. Similarly, on the keyboard side you will require 5 lines coming out from this decoder to the LEDs, and these lines will come to the segment drivers. Okay. So this is how the keyboard and LED display interfacing can be done to the microprocessor. Now let us focus on the other subsystems that we require. You have to, since this is a general purpose system, you have to interface RAM as well as ROM. So RAM and ROM are to be interfaced. RAM and ROM interfacing are to be done, and in this particular case we have suggested that we shall be using the 2764 for ROM and 6264 for RAM. These are of 8K, and you have to use suitable decoder circuit for selecting the devices. And although we are using 2 such devices, in practice there can be more devices in future. So you have to keep future provision. Let's see how we can do the address space partitioning. We can do the address space partitioning with the help of a decoder circuit like this. We can use either use 8205 or 74LS. 74LS. There is another chip 138. They are same, and these are 3 to 8 decoders. As we know, these are the chip select lines, 2 low active and 1 high active. and these are the 3 address lines to the decoder, input lines of the decoder, and you have got 8 output lines. In this way you have got 8 output lines. So this is your S0 and S7. Now since the chips are of 8 bits, we can partition the address space in this manner. We divide it into 8 parts because each of the chip is of 8K. So in 8 parts, and 8 chip select signals will select them. So we apply A15, A14 and A13 as the inputs to the decoder, and the IOM line is used to select the chip, and this can be connected to VCC and this can be connected to ground. And then the S0 is used as chip select of EPROM, and that will put the ROM to the address 0000 to 01FF, sorry 1FFF, because it will be 8K, so it will be 1FFF. And if we use the last line as the chip select of RAM, then the corresponding address will be from it will be FFFF, the last address, and the other part will be E000 to E000 to FFFF. So this will be the address of the RAM, this will be the address of the EPROM, and this is for the memory map. This is the memory map of the system. Now the other chip select signals, other remaining 6 chip select signal can be used for future expansion. You can add 6 more devices, RAM and ROM in future. So this is how the address space partitioning can be done. However, at this point you should look at another important aspect. The another important aspect is the driving capability of the system bus. Driving capability of the system bus has to be considered because you have to drive a number of devices, and the AD0 to 7 and A8 to 15, these address lines has the driving capability, source current capability of 400 microampere when it is 1, and sink current capability is 2 milliampere when the output is low. You can see here, whenever you will be using other devices like latch, decoder, RAM, ROM, their source current requirement or sink current requirement is not very high. But whenever you will be using a larger number of chips in future, then you have to use this kind of tri-state buffers at the output, so that you can do future expansion. So the system design has to be done in that way. So microprocessor will be provided with a latch. This is the latch which will come from the ALE, and this is the AD0 to 7, and the addresses will be there, and we have already discussed the other addresses will come from here, and this will come from the data lines, and you will use the device drivers at the output, and these are the drivers, those bidirectional tri-state drivers and unidirectional tri-state drivers will be there. And this is how we will do the complete system design, hardware design. But hardware design is not the will not make the story complete. You have to perform the software design, and the software will consist of 5 important parts. These are initialization, display sign on message and wait for interrupt. You have to read key code on interrupt. You have to decode key and jump to appropriate interrupt service subroutine. Perform the necessary function. And since the software here is little complex and big, you have to use modular programming by using, and also structured approach, software approach. So let us see how you can do it in this in a modular way. First of all, Let us consider at the main program. After you do the resetting, it will initialize the 8279 and other IO ports that you interface to the system. It will initialize the stack pointer. It will initialize the interrupts. Some of them interrupts will be disabled and enabled. So initialization is done. Then it will display sign on message. For that purpose, we will write some data into that 8279. We have already seen in this particular device you have got some registers. You have to write some data to display some message. Then it will wait for interrupt for depression of any key. And whenever a key depression is done, then it will go to keyboard service subroutine. And as it goes to the keyboard service subroutine, it reads the key code. And as you know that 8279 generates the key code in 6-bit. That key code will be stored in a buffer. Then it will check whether it is a command key or data key. There are 4 comments because the 20 keys is realized in this way, 4 command keys and 16 hex keys. So the 4 command keys are substitute memory, next, execution and monitor. So these 4 functions. So if it is a command key, it checks which particular command has to be implemented. Then it goes to corresponding subroutine. But if it is data key, then it will store in some buffer and then transfer it to register for display purpose. So there are 2 parts. If it is in the address field, it will go to this. That information is stored with the help of a data flag set. And you can see here you are inserting the key code data in a memory buffer and register. Then you are setting up the memory pointer to buffer. Then you are enabling the interrupt and returning. So this part does the storage of display in that address part of the buffer, and it displays on the 4 address digits of the LED displays. Similarly, this part will store it in the data part of the buffer and display it on the 2 LEDs which are used for data part. And these are those subroutines for substitute memory, next and execution. In case of substitute memory, you are getting the address one by one from the keyboard. You have to update the display buffer, then get data byte and put it in the data buffer and set data flag enable interrupt, enable data flag register and enable interrupt, then return. Similarly, the next function where you will increment the address, then update the display buffer, set data flag, enable interrupt and return. And execution and that monitor, those 2 are very simple. After reading the address from the keys, you have to simply transfer it to the program counter. First, that address can be loaded in the HL register pair, then by executing PCHL instruction, that address can be transferred to the program counter and the program will start execution from that memory location. This is how the monitor program is written, and a complete system based on this approach is shown here. Here is the keyboard, and this part is that hex part of the keyboard, and here are the command keys. In this particular case, there are 7 by 4 matrix, so 28 keys are there. So that's why more comments are there. This is the LED displays, 4 plus 2, 6-digit LED display. Here is the microprocessor. Here is the ROM. Here is the RAM. Then 8279, with the help of which these keyboard and displays interfaced. Then it has got the other additional devices like 8253, 8251, which implements that serial port of interface, does the which implements that RS232C. This is that RS232C connector, and 2 additional general purpose programmable port chips are here, 8255, which are available on these connectors for interfacing any additional devices. So this shows a single board computer, microcomputer, with necessary monitor programs stored in the ROM, and it can be configured for any general purpose applications. And this is that complete single board computer shown here. So we can see here we can implement a general purpose computer, and this concludes our discussion on the first part of the lecture on microprocessors. And in the next lecture we shall start our discussion on microcontrollers. Thank you.